Upon returning to Mecca, Abdul Muttalib gathered the people and advised them to leave Mecca and seek refuge in the mountains. Then, accompanied by the prominent men of Mecca, he went to the Kaaba. Holding onto the doorframe, he prayed to Allah to save them from Abraha's army. He pleaded with Allah for several hours to protect the trust of Prophet Ibrahim. Afterward, they all left the Kaaba and went to the top of the mountain. Meanwhile, Abraha prepared his army and ordered an attack to destroy the Kaaba. However, some within his army refused to follow his command. Nufail bin Habib, who was responsible for guiding the elephants, leaned down to Mahmud's ear and whispered, "Kneel where you are and do not rise. Then, safely return to where you came from, for you are standing in Allah's sacred land." Like the believer within Pharaoh's army, this noble man fulfilled his duty with a peaceful heart and left, seeking refuge in the mountains. It is unknown how Allah may guide someone to be the cause of a righteous deed. Indeed, Mahmud knelt down where he was, and no matter how much they tried to force him, he refused to rise or take a step towards Mecca. Then, unexpectedly, Mahmud sprang to his feet and fled in the opposite direction. At that moment, the army suddenly saw something dark approaching from the horizon. As it came closer, they realized it was a large flock of birds. These birds, approaching with a roaring sound, targeted Abraha's army, which had dared to wage war on Allah's sacred land, and began raining down stones the size of large grains of corn from their beaks. Each bird carried 3 stones, one in its beak and one in each of its claws. Every soldier struck by a stone fell dead on the spot. Panic spread through the army as they scattered and fled in all directions. None of them had ever seen or heard of such a thing before. Terrified, they ran aimlessly, but they could not escape the birds. Even Abraha could not save himself. As he fled, a stone struck him, severely wounding his body, and he died in great agony on the spot. In no time, Abraha's vast army was utterly annihilated before the weak people of Mecca. Soon after, torrential rain washed away the corpses. Thus, the remains of the blasphemous army that had come to destroy Allah's sacred place were cleansed, and Hijaz was restored to its pure state once again. This was because, before long, the Sultan of the world was destined to arrive in this land.